Good evening, guys. You know what time it is. It's time for tactics. Hey, so I wanted to go over one of the best tactical games I played in this tournament, guys. I played in the Sioux Falls Open this weekend, and I finished at with 3 out of 5 points. So kind of an average showing for me, but a lot of strong players, guys, like C-class players that are completely underrated. I mean, they're young kids, so what do you expect? I mean, they haven't played that many over-the-board tournaments, but we have a strong program here in Sioux Falls called Chess for Life. So friend of mine runs it actually, and they play like weekly, so they're strong players. And this chess scene here in Sioux Falls is pretty good. So let's just get into it. So I played in the fourth round game this morning with 2.5 out of 3 points, and I played the highest rated player of the tournament. He was a 2,200 rated player named Nels Trulson, very strong player, national master. So I'm playing white, and he's playing black. This is my opportunity to beat a national master, guys. So when you get opportunities like this, you got to take advantage of it, unlike me. So let's just get into it. So I played my King's Indian attack, knight f3, and he plays d5. I play g3, he plays c5, bishop g2, and this is all book. He plays knight c6, castles, e5. So whenever you're playing the King's Indian attack and your opponent moves e5, that's going to be your sign to move d3. So we always move d3. It's like a reverse perk, but it's much more aggressive and has a lot of plans later on in the game for the middle game. f5. So now things have changed. So he goes with the more aggressive setup and plays the 4 pawns attack. So normally we would go knight b to d2, but against this, like, you have to move e4 or c4 right away. Because if I don't and I go knight b d2, he pushes e4 and we just get squashed. So when you play people of this rating caliber, like, he knows his openings, he has a repertoire ready for whatever white throws at him. So I had to move e4 right away. And if you're wondering, wait a second, you only defend that pawn once and he attacks it twice, aren't you going to lose the exchange? So if that were to happen, this is how it would play out. F takes e4, d takes e4, d takes e4, queen takes d8 check, king takes d8, and knight to g5, and I win my pawn back. Because my knight and my bishop are striking at the pawn, and he can't defend it enough times to save it. So I would get my pawn back, and black doesn't gain anything out of that. In fact, he loses his right to castle. So he's not going to do that. So he plays f takes e4, d takes e4, and he pushes the pawn. And normally, like, guys, I play this all the time online. I only see people push d4 usually when you're playing a higher rated player, because the space advantage that they're gaining, like, it's just that positional understanding that they have that, like, A class and below don't have. So I don't see this a lot, but normally when you see d4 against the King's Indian attack, the plan for white, because now the center is closed, is we want to go knight to e1 or knight to h4 in some cases, and then push f4 so we can get more central space for ourselves. So perfect move so far for my opponent. But he's a national master. What do you expect? So after d4, knight b to d2. Okay, so this is a thematic move in the King's Indian. What I'm looking to do is go to the weak square here on c4, but I can't do it right away because he could just kick me out of c4 with b5. So I have to prep it first with a4 to protect b5 from him kicking my knight off of c4. So that's what we have to do before we can even jump into c4, but that's the plan of going knight b to d2 in this position. Knight f6, rook e1. Now, hindsight, which is always 2020, I wish I had not moved rook e1 because it's a waste of time. And the reason I say it's a waste of time is because my lack of understanding at the higher level, like, he's not going to take that pawn on e4, and I thought I had to protect it because my knight protects it, right? So, and I want to move it to c4, so I was thinking if I move to c4, he can just take it, and I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. But it ends up being bad for black if I move rook e1, or if I don't move rook e1 and I move knight c4, because I'm attacking the pawn twice. So it would actually work out better for me had I just ignored knight f6 as far as responding to it. And if I had just gone knight to c4 first to attack the e5 pawn twice and essentially counterattack his developing move, which was somewhat of an attack because I lost time in against a higher rated player. Like, you can't make inaccurate moves like this. I mean, I know it doesn't look like it's that critical, but it ended up becoming probably some tempo I could have used in the opening. So yeah, so Stockfish did not like rook to e1, bishop to d6, and now I can go knight c4 and attack the bishop on d6 with tempo. Bishop to c7, good move, and now we can move a4. Bishop to e6. Now this caused me some fits already because black's developing comfortably, and I'd like to keep my knight there on c4, and I can't protect it because he's probably going to trade off. He's probably going to take my knight because my knight is perfectly posted right there on the weak square of c4. But moving to b3 isn't an option, guys, because if I go b3, bishop takes c4, b takes c4, and our pawn structure is really destroyed. So I don't want to go into an endgame with two double pawns and an isolated a pawn. So b3 is not an option. Queen e2 was an option, but the reason I didn't go queen e2 was because I was afraid of knight takes e4 and queen takes e4 and bishop takes c4. So I was afraid of losing a pawn. But when I ran it through the engine, of course, it said queen e2 was great because if queen e2 and knight takes e4, queen takes e4, bishop takes c4, then we also have knight takes e. Well, we have some counterattacking chances. So it's not that we can win back material right away, but our positions ends up becoming better because I can move like b3 with tempo. I have the open e file. So just based on positional reasons, it didn't mind me losing the pawn. But that's a computer move, guys, and humans and computers move differently. So that was a little counterintuitive for me. So honestly, like, that was the reason I moved knight f to d2, with the human understanding that if bishop takes c4, I take back with a knight and I maintain my posted knight that I wanted. And I also open my bishop's diagonal here to protect the e4 pawn and start the ideas of maybe going rook back to f1, which kind of shows why I lost that tempo earlier by going rook e1. But I can push f4 because I'd like to push f4 against a closed pawn structure in the center of the board. So after knight fd2, he castles kingside. And I move h3. And the reason I move h3, guys, is to protect the g4 square. Because I want to move queen to e2, develop my queen, add more defense to the c4 knight and the pawn on e4. But if I don't move h3 first, then knight to g4 becomes really annoying. Like, he's attacking my f2 pawn, which is only defended by my king. And with my queen on e2, it's not like I'm going to take back on f2 if he goes rook takes f2. Like, I'm not going to lose my queen for a rook and a knight. So I had to prep queen to e2. a6, preparing b5. Now I can go queen e2. Knight to b4. A really good move by my opponent. Simple idea on the surface. There's a lot more to it, guys. So here's where we both started to put our thinking caps on for quite a bit of time. So this is game 90, 30-second increment. So I probably spent a good 10 minutes here figuring out how to best deal with this. And the problem is with him attacking the fork threat with knight takes c2, which would fork both my rooks, is I can't, I can, but I didn't think it was the best move and ended up being better than what I chose to do. Knight to a3 looks to be, on the surface, just an easy way to defend c2, right? But here's why I didn't move to knight a3. During the game, I had calculated if knight a3 to protect c2, and maybe even move this knight to c4, so just kind of get my posted knight back, but this knight's a little bit misplaced, he could take on c2 anyway. So if knight a3, knight takes c2, knight takes c2, d3, forking my queen on e2 and my knight that'd be on c2. So that was my reason during the game that I didn't do this. And it's interesting because, you know, when you run it through Stockfish, it always tells you, you know, you should have done this anyway. But it ended up being a better option for me to do that, because if it didn't feel right when I was calculating that I felt like I was getting pushed back because black's pawn is coming to d3 and my queen has to go to d1. He takes, d takes c2, queen takes d c2, and it ends up becoming an even exchange. So we both have a knight and a pawn, and black doesn't actually gain anything. And technically, I would have been up 0.08 in that, even after the pawn fork. But I think maybe it's just the tactics, guys. Like, I think if my opponent pulls off a tactics, it's immediately bad. But I think I have to go a little further in my calculations to realize that still would have been better than what I opted to do. So instead of moving knight to a3, I chose to go knight to b3, which is kind of a suspicious move, very dubious, because what I was inviting was d3. And if d3, this is what I had calculated. C takes d3, knight takes d3, and now my rook and bishop are under attack, right? But the knight also interferes with my queen's defense of c4. So I have to do something or counterattack with that threat. So what I computed or calculated was rook to d1 in that case. And if rook to d1, knight takes c1, and rook takes c1, which protects the knight on c4. So I would have been okay. And if, check this out, if after that exchange, let's start from the top on that one, if d3, c takes d3, knight takes d3, rook to d1, and then he goes bishop takes c4, what I was planning on doing, guys, was taking the pawn on c5 with my knight that I moved to b3, which is partly why I moved to b3. But it's kind of a very risky idea, because it's kind of crazy, because now this knight can't take my knight, because I would take his bishop, which would have taken my knight with check, and then I would win his knight. So it was very, I was setting up a trap basically for my opponent to go ahead and do that. So let's run through that calculation again. d3, c takes d3, knight takes d3, rook to d1, and we know what to do if he takes a bishop. We're just going to take back with this rook, and that's going to defend this knight. But if he doesn't do this, if he doesn't do that, and instead takes the knight, which is a better move, bishop takes c4, then I was going to go knight takes c5, basically goading him to take my knight so I could take his bishop. And I even thought this far out on that calculation, if the knight took my pawn here, like thinking that he could defend the bishop, I would just take back, the queen defends it. So the queen would just take this. So we're fine in either case. So, but here's the thing, guys, like, of all those clever calculations that I was brewing up with knight to b3, it actually doesn't work, because I didn't see this, but there's actually a better take for him. And my opponent spent 45 minutes on this move, guys. I'm not kidding you. Like, his time was down to like 30 minutes. I had like an hour and 15. So, I mean, lots of time. So he moves d3 like we suspected, right? But after d3, and I take c takes d3, he took with the queen. So I didn't see this. I calculated all these clever ideas with knight takes and what I would do if he did this or did that. But he took with the queen, which I didn't, for whatever reason, see. But it's a lot simpler. And this creates a lot of problems, because now I'm out of position if I take the queen with my queen. So what I mean is, if queen takes d3, knight takes d3, like it's basically a double attack because he's attacking my rook on e1 and my knight and my bishop on c1, but it's also interfering still. Well, not interfering because our queens are gone, but the bishop is attacking this knight, which is a real threat. So it's a double attack. I walk right into a double attack if I take his queen. So because of that, and my knight on b3 is on pre. So this was a crazy, guys. Like I had to think about this for a good 20 minutes after he spent 45 minutes on that one move. And like what I came up with, and this is where the emotions have to take a back seat, because I was thinking knight b to d2 was probably the best move, but I just didn't want to do it because my bishop's scope was going to be blocked in. And I was like, my knight's hanging on b3, my knight is being attacked twice. What if I go knight to a5? And I was like thinking of some ideas of what I could do with knight a5, and I had to go down this path of, if knight here to a5, it defends this knight twice now, right? It's defended by this knight, and my queen still defends it. It defends it on an X-ray. But the problem with that, and what I was trying to figure out, was what happens if he goes b6? And this is what I was thinking, is if he goes b6, I can try to be really cute about it and go knight to c6 to try to remove the defender, because then if knight takes c6, removes the defense of his queen. Now I can take his queen, but he doesn't have to take it yet. He can just take my queen off first with an in-between move. I take back and then he takes it. So I mean, he's at 2200, like he's not going to fall for that. And so I was just juggling, like, what can I do? But in retrospect, I wish I had just gone with knight back to d2. And honestly, guys, like, this whole thing snowballs because what I should have done was never gone knight to b3 to begin with, and gone down this crazy like analysis of knight takes c5 and all these clever in between moves. Because the issue was, and I like the GM Shaheen Lazrengapay. I can't even say his last name. It's like super long, but he's like an Iranian GM. I like watching his channel because he has a really good quote, and he says, "The move wasn't the problem, the understanding was." And so I think of that as I go through this game, and I'm like, I just misunderstood the position. Like, I should have never gone knight b3 and tried to calculate all this crazy stuff with the knight takes, because he never even took with the knight. He took with the queen. So I should have gone knight to f3, and so anyway, that kind of threw off everything. And so anyway, I go knight b to a5, and he presses b5. So he doesn't go b6 like I anticipated, but he goes b5, but still kind of the same effect, because my knight is attacked on c4, and there's all sorts of problems. Like, now my knight is attacked by my bishop that I walk right into, and knight c6 won't work, because if knight c6, guys, he can just take back queen takes c4, because now my knight relieves defense of c4. So I have too many things on pre, and not enough in between moves or clever ideas. I'm running out. So what I thought of was bishop to e3, with the idea of bishop takes c5, forking the knight on b4 and the rook on f8. But that was the best I could come up with, guys. It was basically losing the exchange, going down a knight for a pawn. So this whole thing was just snowballed out of my control, but bishop to e3 was the best I could come up with. So now he just simplifies the position, because he knows he's going to come out ahead on the exchange. Queen takes e2, rook takes e2. We don't have to worry about that knight fork, but we're going to lose the exchange. B takes c4, so now he just takes the knight. Knight to b7. And the reason I go knight b7, guys, is because as much as I want to fork him right now, my knight on a5 would just be hanging. So I have to prep it and go knight b7, and it attacks c5 twice. Knight to d3, defending it one time, and knight takes c5. Knight takes c5. Bishop takes c5. Rook F to D8. But guys, I'm already down the exchange. I'm playing against a 2200, so different level. I mean, he didn't make any mistakes. I ran this through the engine, guys, after I played this game, and he played at 87.3% accuracy. I played at 83.2. So I didn't even play bad, but he just played great. So that's the thing I'd have to say when you play these 2200s. You can't just bring good moves, guys. You got to bring great moves because they don't make mistakes. G4, just trying to get something going here on the king side. Bishop B6, trying to trade off and simplify the position since he's up the exchange. I don't want that because we're down. Bishop to A3. And then he goes bishop to A5 with the idea of bishop to B4 forcing the exchange, which we don't want to do that because we're down material. So I go here to C5. He goes rook to D2. Rook takes D2. Bishop takes D2. And rook to C2. Bishop to B4. Bishop to E3 because I don't want to trade. As we're down. Rook to D8. I mean, guys, I'm just slowly getting just like a boa constrictor, just getting tighter and tighter. Like we're already down. Like he's just making good moves. I'm making good moves, but I'm already down. So it's like, it just seems like it feels like a lost cause at this point, but I'm just keep fighting. That's what I keep telling myself. Because I did win a game last night with that mentality of just fighting. You just want to keep fighting. You never want to give up. Bishop F3, knight to D7, H4, knight C5, G5, knight takes A4, H5. I mean, I know I lost a pawn, guys, but I mean, if I don't get something going as far as an attack or try to attack, I'm probably going to lose the game anyway. So that's why I just don't really care about the A pawn. G6, H6, A5, bishop to E2, C3, B takes C3, knight takes C3, and bishop back to F3 because I had to defend the pawn here. I don't want to lose my bishop. Bishop to B3. I mean, just attacking with tempo and pace. And I knew if I went rook to B2, he's just going to push A4. So I didn't even want to deal with that and help him promote his pawn faster. So I just went back to C1 and bishop to D1, forcing the exchange or trying to force the exchange. I went back to G2, but I was so focused on the pawn and just the strategic part of the game that I missed just this simple tactic here, guys. Shame on me. Shame. I cannot believe I missed this. But after he forked me, I just, I resigned because I was already down. I mean, there was no hope in the position for me. And honestly, my opponent was really good. So, there's no reason to keep this game going any longer because I didn't have anything going. But anyway, guys, I don't only show my games where I win, but I also show games where I lose, but there's strategic and value for you from a tactical perspective and just seeing just the games and the ideas. So I hope you learned something from this. Over the next week or two, I'm going to release one video on Tuesday, next Friday, and Sunday, and probably the following Tuesday of all the games because they're all tactical in nature, guys. There's a lot of ideas I'm going to fully explain like I did here. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something. 2200s are no joke. Like, you really have to bring your A game because, I did the best I could, but I have a lot of work to do, guys. I'm not even close. I wasn't even close to beating him. So, if that's my goal to be a 2200 rated player, I have to work harder. I got to work smarter. And just like the GM that I was talking about earlier, I need to understand what's going on in the position at a deeper level because I misunderstood how to best deal with the attack on C2. and that's what caused me to go knight b3, and that's what caused me to slowly get just suffocated. Was I should have gone knight to f3 and knight to g5 and then pushed f4. That my plan should have been completely different. Instead, I tried to get really tactical over here, but it was just the wrong plan, and my understanding was wrong. So anyway, guys, hope you learned something from this, and watch this next video of me winning and just crushing a 1000 and a 1600 as well. So we'll see you on the next video.